Well, hello, my people. Big Brown breakdown for UFC 207 is in effect. It's good to be in here. Straight off of, no, well, I shouldn't say straight off, but I was doing JRE yesterday with Rogan and Eddie Bravo. We didn't get too much into the fights. Talked a little bit, about World War I, World War II, the Korean War, conspiracy theories. How the news honey diksha into thinking that everything's fake story. Boxing, we went old school boxing. You know how those things are. We have a plan, but when the three of us get together, because we don't see each other a lot unless we're in studios, so it goes down a weird path. So it's not always fight talk, but nonetheless, fun time. Holidays were good. I'm glad they're over. Actually, right after this, tonight, it's Tuesday at 12:25 p.m. Pacific time in Los Angeles, California right now. Tonight I have a set at the Comedy Store, and then tomorrow morning, and I suck at these, I go on vacation to Napa Valley for 3 days to reset, and then I'm back to it. But yeah, it's important to get this one out of the way. It's an important breakdown. So, Chin, holidays were good, my man?
They're great, man.
Yeah?
Yeah, how are yours?
It was good. It was good. It's always whenever I get around, my girl's family and then my family who I haven't seen, they feel like I get nonstop fight questions, but just like terrible, just like things that would never happen. Yeah. Or does that make sense? Not to be a dick, but it's just like, hey, bro, I mean, what would happen if Manny Pacquiao fought Jose Aldo? I'm like, that's never. Why are we talking about this? That's never going to happen. Who told you that? Scott, I heard it could happen. I'm like, well, I'm telling you, man, we're wasting our time. Is there anything? Can we go over something more important? Don't mean to sound like a dick, but
it's like the only job that someone has where everyone flocks to ask questions about that, right? Mm-hmm. If you were a doctor or a lawyer, you wouldn't be asking that many questions about different kind of surgeries or anything. But when there was a fighter in the room,
true,
that's where everyone wants to pay attention.
True, and everyone has their opinion, especially if they're a fan of it, which I don't mind, but sometimes it gets, the questions are crazy. I don't know. I feel like a doctor would get a ton of questions.
I think I have a doctor friend. We've never talked about him being a doctor.
Nothing?
Yeah.
See, well, I'd be like, if I had like a weird rash, which I do right now, and I'd be like, yo, man, just what do you think of this? He's like, well, I'm a brain surgeon, so I don't know shit about rashes, sir, but,
that'd be weird.
I don't know. But, all right, let's get into it. A lot going on, man. A lot this week. It's an interesting card. Let's get into it, brother. What's the first? And I'm sure you had an easy time. So just let you guys know how this works. I tell Chin, hey, man, pick out all the kind of current events, breaking news, hot topics for this week in mixed martial arts. Would you say today was your easiest time picking events?
Since there's so much cool stuff, I wanted to make sure I got the best ones.
Love it. Let's see what you got, man.
Well, you know how Kane got pulled from 207?
Mm-hmm.
The more you look into it, I'm sure people have discovered this too, but it all stems from his interview with Brett Okamoto from ESPN.
I love that guy.
He's good. And so this thing came out on December 21st, and Kane just goes into this whole thing about how he has this intense pain in the bottom of his right leg. He says he can't stand for more than 10 minutes because it's too painful. And he actually scheduled surgery 5 days after the 207 fight. So it's already in the books for it. So ever since then, of course, the commission caught on to it. People found out. And then Kane himself said that the doctor, his own doctor or whatever doctor's in charge, they cleared him. And then that doctor was on a conference call with NAC and said, yeah, he's cleared. But NAC eventually said, no, you're not ready to fight.
Did anyone from the Nevada Athletic Commission actually look at Kane, or just based off the interview they suspended
That's the
him?
thing. I think it's completely off of the interview. Because all they would look at is the doctor, right?
Because if you're cleared, you're cleared. The issue here is the Nevada Athletic Commission, when a guy says, I can barely stand for 10 minutes, I have to have this surgery, they have to cover their asses, because if he goes in there and God forbid something crazy happens where I'm assuming he's talking about his neck or his back.
His back, yeah.
Okay, so you're talking about your back, and he goes in there, and let's say Fabricio Verdum gets him in an electric chair, something crazy, or twist or some shit, and tweaks his back where he's paralyzed.
Yeah.
He can sue the UFC for clearing him to fight with that pre-existing injury, even though by him coming out about it, that's basically letting them know he has it.
Exactly.
So the person at fault here is, and I love the guy, but as much as, we want to get mad at the athletic commission for not letting him fight, this is on Cain Velasquez. He's been in the game way too long. He knows better than this. I don't know what sort of benefit he gets from releasing this information. You're letting Verdum know you're not 100%.
Yeah.
You're letting the world know you have some serious issues. It started when he did his interview for the Mixed Martial Arts Athletes Association. He was like, me, I've had how many surgeries? 12 surgeries. I have to have another one. My back's killing me. I'm like, why are you doing this? So someone probably should have, again, went over and like, if you want to fight, you probably shouldn't say that.
Yeah.
This is probably something to say after the fight. And if you want the fight that bad, he's never been a guy to come out and say this. Conor McGregor, whether he wants to admit it or not, and I think this is public knowledge. When he fought Nate Diaz, he had horrible staph. He was like antibiotics, stuff like that. Did you hear about that?
I don't think I heard about it until after.
Fighters hide that stuff. When I fought Andre Arlovsky, I went in with a broken hand. Did you hear anything about that? Nope. I went in with a broken hand and 7 stitches above my left eye. I had a makeup artist use a spray paint to hide it from the commission so I get cleared. So in that fight, as soon as we started getting sweaty and he didn't even hit me, I think we were in the clinch and I just went to get head position. That opened up. Everyone was like, oh my God, Arlovsky fucked Schaub up. I went into the fight like that. But no one goes into a fight 100%. And Cain Velasquez, he's as professional as it gets. So for him to come out and say that is very strange, man. Yeah. I think he's maybe get too caught up in this association thing. He wants to, let people know how much he sacrificed to become the champ and for this fight. And he just kind of got a little bit too ahead of himself. It's not on the commission, man. It's not on the commission. It's the same with your health insurance. In your health insurance, when you have to fill out the form when you're applying for new health insurance, it says, have you had any surgeries? Have you had any pre-existing injuries? Anything like that? And you have to list all the stuff.
Yep.
Well, if you try hiding something and they find it, your insurance go way higher because it's a liability. Yeah. So just like how they won't let Rashad fight, there's a reason. There's a reason, because if he went in there and if it's a brain issue, if it's a knee issue, and he blows his knee out, but the commission's aware of that's on them.
Yeah. And this is on the record, too. It's tough for the commission not to do this.
Cain's a smart dude, so I don't know. It's very unlike him, but it sucks because they definitely needed him on this card for many of reasons, which I'm sure we'll get to. Yeah. What else you got, brother?
Well, Chris Cyborg. Everyone already knows she tested positive for a diuretic.
And I think she said, women take it as it's a form of birth control. Like it's found in a birth control that helps. It's a diuretic to help women lose weight.
Was that the one that was part of her birth control regimen?
I don't know. She done a bunch of shit. The way I heard about it is, and Rogan got into a little bit. He knew way more about it, but it's a masking agent that can be used to hide steroid use or certain steroid agents, masks. Yeah, so I want to give her the benefit of doubt. If you watch that 30 for 30 where she's cutting that weight, and I think MMA Fighting released that video too, and she's on the doors, the death's doorstep, and she's trying to do all this stuff, and she's doing everything she can, and she's just killing herself. And then she went into deep depression after the fight, even though she won, but just that weight loss fucked her up. So that means you're cutting way too much weight. You should not be killing yourself to do that. I want to give her the benefit of the doubt that the doctor prescribed it to her because her hormones, thyroid, and everything was so jacked up, and she was not doing good, so they had to do this. But why you wouldn't let the commission know you're doing that is, or the USADA, like, hey, I'm just giving you guys a heads up. I have to take this because of the condition I'm in right now. I'm not doing well. Is there something else my doctor could prescribe? Because I'm obviously, the one who, out of anyone in the world, in the history of the UFC,
Yes.
out of anyone ever that couldn't afford to be attached to a red flag from USADA, it's Chris Cyborg.
Yep. That's
So-
why this is so shocking too.
It's just a bummer. It's just a freaking bummer because, again, I want to give her the benefit of the doubt, but it doesn't matter. It's no different than when if a girl comes out and says, that athlete raped me, whether it's true or not, there's a black cloud over that man for the rest of his life. It just is. All we hear is rape. We don't give the guy the benefit of the doubt, and usually it's a black cloud over his head. For her, most people, I'd say 99% of people are going, told you. I fucking told you. They finally caught her. She's been tested many of times before and didn't have any issues. So I give her the benefit of the doubt. I mean, there's a chance. I don't think they give her the 3-year suspension. I bet she gets a year.
Yeah.
She's out a year. They made a division for her. The division is not deep at all. They're setting it up for her to fight the winner of that, who I believe is going to be Holly Holm. She's screwed, man.
It's actually listed as a specified substance on the prohibited list for USADA, so you can't have it in or out of competition, and it's there. So that's what makes this really, really
It's frustrating, right?
Yeah.
And again, listen, I get as frustrated with USADA as you guys do, but all the fighters, they know there's a list, and if you're gonna take the shit, especially that if a doctor prescribes you anything, you should be sending that to your manager. And your manager should be sent to USADA or the UFC, a representative, just to get it cleared before anything. They could come the next day and test you at 4 a.m, 6 a.m. Especially Cyborg. If your name is Chris Cyborg, you shouldn't be taking anything even remotely close to that list. Because now people go, told you, and your legacy is tainted for the rest of your life. Where everyone's going, I already told you, and she's been busted before. That's why she hits like that. It's not, and it's not. She's very talented. Yeah, she's been busted before. She's a very, very gifted athlete, very gifted fighter. Hits like a tank. You're screwed. With the general public, you're screwed, man. Everything you've ever worked for.
If it wasn't connected to any kind of masking of steroids, if it was just a diuretic, I think people would give her more of a break.
Yeah, you're right.
But this is tough, man.
God, it's such a bummer. It is such a fucking bummer. What else you got, man? I feel bad for her.
Yeah.
I really do.
Well, Junior Dos Santos said that he was offered the fight with Verdun, but Verdun turned it down.
So because Kane got pulled,
yeah,
they gave Verdun the option of fighting Junior Dos Santos?
That's what Sugano says, yeah.
Okay.
And then so Verdun says that that's not true. He says he would even fight him now just to end all this previous chasing that Junior has been doing. Like he's been wanting this rematch with him, even though Junior won the first fight.
That was his first UFC fight years ago.
And then I pulled up an article for you. Verdun started going into this thing where he's calling him, homosexual. He's not out of the closet. I mean, it got pretty weird.
And obviously homosexual tendencies or homosexuals, gay, the LGBT community in America is more accepted than most places in the world. In Brazil, not so much.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, in Brazil, not so much at all. So it's pretty offensive, too, to say that. If you've ever seen that show on Viceland where the girl Paige and her best friend, who are both part of the LGBT community, they go around, they go to China, they go to Russia, they go to places in America, they go to Brazil, and they go to the gay community to see how people are trying to cope with it, or how people are trying to get their voices heard and make changes. And they go to Brazil, and it's some gnarly shit, to say the least. There's a group who look for gays and try to murder them. It happens all the time.
Holy crap.
So so in Brazil, that's nothing to joke about.
I mean, he does try to save himself by saying, I have nothing against homosexuals or anything, but he kept pressing like he's just not out of the closet. I think he's still in the closet and needs to get out.
I mean, that's some personal shit, man.
And Junior Dos Santos is like the nicest guy in the world, too.
Yeah, for real. He's literally the nicest dude ever. So is Verdum, though.
That's true, yeah.
Verdum's awesome. He's one of my favorite fighters in the UFC. You're whenever you do this, whenever you do personal stuff like this, because there's shit talking and then there's crossing the line. For me, this is crossing the line.
Yeah.
Let's say in a weird, crazy world, and it's not that weird, and no one should give a flying fuck, Junior Dos Santos is gay. Okay. Who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares, man? But it's not on Fabricio Verdum to out him like this. If you are gay, that's the worst thing that could happen. But I don't think he is. Don't give a shit either way.
Yeah.
I don't think he is. I won't get into personal reasons, but I just don't think he is. And I've seen the guy in Brazil. He likes ladies. Fabricio, I think, is just trying to, kind of hype the fight, or that's the way of shit talking. He's a smart dude. That'd been a fun fight. I'd love to see that.
Yeah.
I would love to see that fight. And now it's off. It's kind of a bummer. Kane's going to be out a while. So that Fabricio Verdum and Kane, 2 happening anytime soon. Fabricio will probably fight 2 more times before Kane comes back, I would imagine.
I know he's calling for Miocic. He wants that fight, that rematch. But I don't know if they'll give him that.
Well, it'd be weird not to give Verdum at least the title eliminator shot again, because title contention shot again, because Kane versus him obviously was going to get the next title shot. And Stipe needs time off, and he told the UFC that. So I guess if Junior Dos Santos gets by Struve, which is a kind of a silly fight, but I guess if he gets by Struve, knocks him out, then you do Fabricio versus JDS for the title shot. Because who wouldn't want to see JDS versus Stipe again? That was an amazing fight. Amazing fight.
It was like a boxing match, right?
Crazy fight. And, some people think Stipe won is a close decision. So, Stipe's last loss. Crazy. Yeah, you're not going to win any fans talking like that, though.
Yeah,
I don't advise that to anyone. It really is. And I love Verdum. He knows better. What else you got?
Okay, we were talking about that potential fight with Nate Diaz and Khabib. That was just a rumor. And Nate went on record saying that the only way he's fighting at lightweight is for a really big fight or $20 million just to pick up the phone. What are your thoughts on that?
I love it. And he's worth every penny, and I hope they give it to him. The question is Khabib Nurmagomedov the big fight he's looking for? And I would assume not. Khabib's not a huge draw here. Pay-per-view number-wise, and I'm sure that's what he wants. So if they offer him $20 million and to fight Khabib, I'm sure he'd do it. Now, or he's just going to get a huge fight like a Khan or something like that. I love Khabib, and I think it'd be a rough matchup for Nate Diaz. I don't see him doing it just because of the name of Khabib. No one wants to fight Khabib. He's the most dangerous guy in the division. And he's probably the least famous.
It's crazy. I mean,
out of the top 5. When I say least famous, Khabib, we know him, but the general public does not. In Russia, he's huge draw, huge. But that doesn't correlate to pay-per-view buys here in America, which is what people care about. Mm-hmm. When I say people, sponsors, UFC, Dana White, WME. So, I don't see him giving him $20 million to fight Khabib. They probably just figure out a deal with Tony Ferguson first.
That'd be great, too.
Yeah. What else you got, brother?
Alrighty. Ronda Rousey won't be taking part of the media activities for 207. How do you feel about that?
Well...
And Amanda Nunes, too.
Yeah, I don't think they even give her an option. God, where do we start with this? How do I want to start this? They should call it UFC 207, UFC 207, conflict of interest. UFC 207, the exception. You know what I'm saying? Like, remember that in and some people's arguments are it's a different boss now. There's different owners, but Dana White still makes a decision when it comes to this stuff. So remember when Conor did all that media, did that world tour, blah, blah, and did that huge world tour, and then Jose Aldo gets hurt, and then they have to do this, and he's like, dude, I need a rest. I'm not showing up for it. Well, you're spending, you're off the card. Yeah. Dana White goes, you have to do promotional work. You have to. It's your job. That's why you're here. We give you the platform. This is what you do to take him off the card. Okay? And he's your biggest star ever. There's no debate. If you want to debate, go ahead and Google it right now and let me know the numbers. It's not up for argument. Dana White, I say, Ronda's the biggest star we've ever had. It's not true. So that being said, I heard an interview with Garbrandt-Cruz, and they go, what do you think of this whole, Ronda not doing the media work on stuff like that, and it being an issue? And Dominic goes, that's because she addresses it as an issue. He goes, to me, it's not a big deal. It's our job as a UFC fighter, which makes it the toughest job in professional sports. Is we have to do so much more than these other sports. An NBA guy, NFL guy, let's take Marshawn Lynch, for example. Super Bowl. Doesn't get any bigger. Remember that? Remember that? He'd say one-word answers. Or not show up at all. Got fined like a motherfucker. We still tune into the Super Bowl. Well, this is our version of the Super Bowl. Imagine what the viewer cares about, especially the general consumer, which buys the pay-per-views, is the story. There has to be a story. The story that Ronda's back isn't enough. It's just not. The story that it's her against the world, that's not true. She made that up. The story that the MMA media, Joe Rogan, everyone turned their back on when she lost, and that's why she's not doing media, that's not true. That same media is the reason why you're such a big star. Granted, you took care of work in the octagon, and she was a pioneer for women's sports, pioneer for all female athletes, and what she did will never be forgotten. That's fine. That's fair. But that vehicle doesn't happen without the support of the media. Say what you want about the media, but just like the UFC, they can dictate who gets kind of their word out. Does that make sense? Yeah. So it's their job. They are not turning their back on you when you get murked and kicked in the face. It's their job to report that. It's their job to give an opinion of that. It's Joe Rogan's job to question your striking abilities, which were exposed in that fight. It's the UFC's job to show that highlight reel of you getting knocked out. The world is not against you. You are against the world. You have this chip on your shoulder. No one's saying you can't do it. Matter of fact, you've been the favorite in every fight you've ever had in the UFC. What underdog are you talking about? And I saw a quote today that I think it was one of her Olympic team members in judo goes, no one does the underdog role better than Ronda Rousey. The fuck are you talking about? In her last fight, was she minus 4,000 or some shit? Before that, minus 2,200, minus 3,000. There's no. What are you talking? What underdog are you referring to? What are you referring to? And I truly believe this, and I'm not hating. This is being a critical thinker. Big difference. With her not doing this promotional work and this landing on a Friday night, Kane and Verdum falling out, you're not going to see huge pay-per-view numbers. You're going to see good pay-per-view numbers. It's still Ronda Rousey. But you're going to see, you're not going to see record-breaking numbers. Have you heard anything about the record-breaking gate? You anything about sold-out shows? Nothing. But the casual fan has to have a story. The story has to be Ronda's making a comeback. She got embarrassed her last fight. She's the pioneer of the sport. She's fighting Amanda Nunes. The person who we should be talking about, and not just her, obviously we need to talk about Ronda, but the person we need to be talking about more is Amanda Nunes. Do you know her story, Chen?
I'm just guessing poor, fought her away from...
Yeah, there's such a story there. There's such a fucking story there, and it's so frustrating because...
But I don't know it really, so...
Yeah, there's no reason, and I'll shed some light on it from the few things I know, and even this doesn't do her justice, but You want to talk about a story? You want to talk about someone who you could get behind? And I'll get to Amanda Nunes after this. Remind me of that. But what scares me in this fight is I'm going to say two things. A, I think it's Ronda's last fight. Wow. Win or lose, I think it's their last fight. I think by her not addressing the media, not having to do this, the UFC giving an exception, it shows that for the first time that we've really seen, there's a kink in her armor. Mentally, what a real fighter does. I'm not saying she's not a real fighter. I'm saying she had this whole campaign of don't be a do nothing bitch. And remember, fight like a girl. The knock, and these are the meatheads that I don't want to see women fight. Think about how emotional they are, blah, blah, blah. Ronda loses one fight and can't face the critics. This is the fight game. You know how many guys have been hit in the fucking face, been knocked out cold, and they get up on that stand and face it? Wasn't my night, man. Wasn't my night. You know how many interviews I've done after I got knocked the fuck out? You know how many memes there are of me getting knocked out? And I do interviews, done interviews. This sport is very, very easy. And you don't find out about a person when they're winning fights. You don't. That's not adversity. Adversity is not going through a training camp where you're so much more advanced than the other women that you go in there and you murk them. That's not what this business is about. This business is about getting knocked on your ass and in her case, getting kicked in the fucking face, knocked out cold, and getting right back on the fucking saddle, facing those cameras going, all right, man, I got knocked out. Yeah, I talked all this shit. Yeah, whatever. Maybe I do have holes in my game, but I guarantee you I feel sorry for the next girl I fight. That's who you want your daughter to follow. That's who we support. That's who we get behind. Not someone who gets kicked in the face, goes silent because the entire world's against me. No, we're not. This is what you signed up for. You did not sign up for the easy ride. There is no free meal tickets in this fucking sport. That's why it's the toughest sport in the world. Because you're going to get embarrassed. I don't care who you are. Name a fighter who hasn't been embarrassed. And go. Name fucking one, Chin. Name one fighter who's never been embarrassed. Yeah. John Jones. Trust me, he's been embarrassed. When he ran that Bentley into the tree and there's hookers in the back, that's embarrassing. When he ran to that lady and had to... Remember when he tested positive? What's the first thing John did? Without ill advice from his entire team, what the fuck did he do? Why? He faced the media, crying, going, my bat. My fucking bat, man.
Oh, when the last
Remember that?
Yes.
UFC, the day before the fight. The day before the fight, commission comes to him and goes, you're off, man. You tested positive. John goes, oh my God, this is terrible. Most people go into hiding. The pressure's on him. What's he do?
Faces it.
That's a fighter.
Yeah.
I'm not saying she's not a fighter. I'm saying I'm a little worried where her mental state is. Now, if it's vintage Ronda and she wants this fight and everything's all good and she wants to be in there, which is a little bit hard to believe after all this, she murks Amanda Nunes 9 times out of 10. If it's a fragile Ronda and she's worried about being embarrassed and she feels like she has to get to the ground and she's lunging in and taking those horrible shots like Holly, she's going to get knocked out, but with a huge right hand. So that's a huge X factor in that fight, and we'll do our picks after this. But if you're a Ronda Rousey fan, it's tough, man. You can't take your ball and go home. There's no going home. I think, she had a quote where she goes, I think she said it to Conor McGregor, if you're fighting for money, fuck you. Okay. Well, if you're making movies, not taking fights, and sitting out for 411 days, fuck you. Conor's fighting and promoting the sport and taking it to another level that no one's ever taken it to. They should call this UFC conflict of interest. UFC, fuck. UFC 207, fuck. Because it's her management owns the organization. WME, IMG was her manager and Dana's before all this happened. They own the UFC. So to say there's a conflict of interest is an understatement. Name another fighter that could possibly not do press for one of the biggest UFC cards of the year. And it's going to hurt him. It's going to hurt him.
Headline, too.
Headline. Okay, so you got Garbrandt-Cruz and Cody Garbrandt. It's going to carry it. Amazing fight. Better fight than this. That doesn't sell pay-per-views. TJ versus homeboy Lineker. That ain't selling it. So, it falls on them. And the conflict of interest is even the fucking UFC brass, Dana White, Ari Emanuel, these guys went, man, in order to get Ronda back to fighting, she's not going to promote the fight. She's not going to do any interviews. We have to make this exception. What the fuck? Dana's going, I guess we'll do that. I ain't Connor, though, because he would do a press tour in New York, but not Vegas. I yanked him from the card, and they're going, this is the only way she's going to fight. It's insane, man. It's insane. But I think it points to this. We're seeing the last kind of hurrah from Ronda.
That makes sense.
Now let's get into Amanda Nunes, who more people should be talking about. Amanda Nunes is a Brazilian fighter. Grew up poor. Her mom, her uncle was a Vale Tudo fighter. Her mom would corner. Her mom did boxing, so she started boxing from a very young age. I think her sister got into jiu-jitsu, started competing in jiu-jitsu, whooping girls' asses. Decided to go to MMA, lost her first MMA fight. Starts doing well there. I believe they moved to the States, and she moved to, I want to say New Jersey, in order to pursue a professional career. And, this is a girl who lived in the gym. She lived in the gym. In Brazil, they would call her Lion because she was the only girl. She wanted to be the only girl. And mind you, she's a loud and proud out lesbian.
Yep.
She moves to the States, and she's training at a gym. I think it's ATT. I might have some facts messed up here, but you guys get the story. She wanted to be the only girl. She only wanted to be the only girl. Any girl that came in, she had to prove a point. So her now lover, and this is an amazing story. Did you guys know this?
No.
Mm-mm. If you guys don't know it, and you're part of this fucking show, how do you think? You think my mom knows it?
No.
Nope. You think my dad knows it? You think the average fan knows it? Mm-mm. So, she in her corner is another UFC fighter, and it happens to be her lover. At the same time, they start off as training partners, and this girl took care of her, kind of showed her the ropes. And they have this amazing love story, man. You read about it, and you're like, what the fuck? I think it was an article. It was on MMA Fighting or MMA Junkie. I forget where I read her whole life story. It might have been from, God, I forget where I fucking saw it. Either way, you guys would know. It's out there. But you read her story, and it's like, how are we not talking about this? This is a Brazilian girl who came from nothing. Wanted to be a fighter, and she's the first female Brazilian champion. She was the first Brazilian female fighter to sign with UFC. She's in a relationship. There she is, Nina Ansaroff, who competes in the strawweight division, corners her. They're around each other 24/7. It's an amazing love story. It's probably the best love story in the UFC. How many people know about it? Are you telling me if we didn't get behind her and promote that, you wouldn't tune in, be a bigger fan of her? The UFC is always about win-wins. This is the first time I've ever seen them. This is the new ownership. They got some shit to learn, son. God damn, that's an understatement. They have some shit to learn because you're putting all your eggs in Ronda Rousey's basket. There's a chance, a good chance she loses this fight. Then what do you do with this girl over here? You put no marking behind her. You put no dollars into her. We don't know who the champion is. Okay, well, now she's... let's bring up this next girl. Well, you missed the boat because we had all these eyes that Ronda brings to the table. And we know nothing about the girl she's fighting. And that girl she's fighting is the champion. And she's amazing and has highlights out the gazoo. And she's part of the, for the first time, especially in the UFC, part of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transsexual. She's loud and out and proud about it. Oh, and her girlfriend, who they've been together for 4 years, corners her. Oh, and she's also a professional athlete in the UFC. You can't write that shit. If I went to the head of a network right now and wrote her story and handed to them, they're like, get the fuck out of here. No one's going to believe this. It's an amazing story, man. It's not being told. And now, and because Ronda can't face the music, we don't find out about Amanda Nunes. She's not allowed to do open workouts. Imagine the biggest opportunity in your life, Chin. You're like, God, it's going to be so dope. They're finally going to ask me all the questions. I'm the world champion. I'm going to go to open workouts. I'm going to be able to do this. I'm going to be able to do this. And they go, not this time. What? I've been wanting this fight all my life. I know. You get the opportunity to fight her. You can't talk about it.
Why, though? Why are they...
Conflict of interest. Dana and Ronda's relationship is a different one. We'll leave it at that. Next event.
This is a story that actually involves you. Since Magny's going to be fighting Hendricks on this card.
Oh, I thought you were going to do some bullshit Ronda Rousey headline.
No.
I hate that shit. God, I don't like talking about it anymore, but as an analyst, Big Mount Breakdown, I can't do this job and not talk about the main event and what's going on with her. I don't like, and we had a rule on the Fighting the Kid and we still have that rule where we don't talk about Ronda because I just don't want to. I don't want to, I just don't want it. But when we talk about UFC 207, she's a headline.
Yeah.
I hope she retires so I don't have to fucking break this shit down. All right. Sorry, man.
All good. So this story is just a cool story when Magny and you and Tyron Woodley. By the way, Tyron Woodley is another guy they don't tell the story about. He has a freaking awesome story.
Amazing story.
And he's still champion, so that sucks. All right, anyways, Magny was retelling a story of a few years back when Hendricks was a champion. Mm-hmm. And then you, him, Tyron Woodley went to a little bar at International Fight Week?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Yeah.
And then you guys were hanging out there, and he was actually standing right next to Hendricks. And then at that moment, he was like, holy crap, this is the champion. I really think I could take this guy, especially since they're out grabbing some beers. So he packed up early and went back home and just like, I need to do this if I'm going to beat this guy. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, here he is today fighting Hendricks. And I guess we'll get into that fight more later, but that was a cool story.
That's a great story, man. Yeah, and I honestly believe, and Neil's a guy who leaves no stone unturned. He's a guy where, I was a coach on that Ultimate Fighter season. I think it was 14 he was on, or 17, I forget. But it was when Shankar and Roy Nelson were the coaches. Neil Magny really didn't stick out. Neither did that Sam Alvey. Sam Alvey, I thought, and he's knocking Merkin dudes now with the smile.
Awesome knockout artist.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Dude, to be honest, he was the biggest bitch of that season. Behind closed doors, we all hated him because he would complain. He was always hurt. He just didn't want to fight. And everyone was like, God, how the fuck? And that was, I think, their number one pick. I missed the time when they picked the fighters, but everyone's like...
I never would have guessed that.
Ever.
Yeah.
But people realize the Ultimate Fighter is not the UFC. That's a weird real world meets MMA fighting, and it's not real. It's not real. Yeah. Those conditions aren't real. It's that in a hyperbolic situation that's so extreme and brings out the worst in people or the best. Depends what you're doing. I thought it was a walk in the park, not gonna lie to you guys. Until I got hit by Roy Nelson. But Neil Magny wasn't a guy. I mean, he was a guy who had good cardio. Not his jiu-jitsu was all right, but he had a lot of heart. But I never, Neil knows I love him, and I'm obviously rooting for him in this fight, and I always support the guy. But I would have never guessed he would make it this far.
And a huge run he had too for a while.
And you look at the guys he's beat. He's beat Kelvin Gastelum. He's beat Hector Lombard.
That's the craziest one.
It's crazy, man. So Woodley is not Woodley. Neil Magny is a great story. He's a guy who was living in Chicago, didn't have a great camp, and after the Ultimate Fighter, moved to Denver, lived with Nate Marquardt, and would babysit his kids. He dated, shout out to Lauren Landau. He dated Lauren Landau's niece and just fit in with the team. And now, he's one of the I think he's a captain, or he's one of the lead dogs now. When I left, he was this young pup trying to figure things out. And I love to see it, man. And when I say he's the nicest guy, that's an understatement.
I was telling you, I don't even know him at all, but he just comes off as like the nicest. Looks like a super nice guy.
He's just so
everything about him.
Just a
nice.
sweet dude. And he's the guy who he was in the military. I won't say he was one of the medical guys. You know, when people get hurt, you know, on the battlefield, he was the guy that helped them out.
Of course.
So I don't know how you can't like that guy. Yeah. Do you guys know his story?
Barely.
Whose fault is that? So I love Neil. I think you have to have that demeanor. I really do. I used to love seeing guys party and get crazy, you know, because I don't drink. And I used to love that stuff when they party, do drugs, you know, come to practice late, or I'd hear him, you know, slacking off. That used to drive me. So Neil's kind of the same way. He's a very straight edge dude. And I think you have to be to get here. And we'll get into that fight. And I love Johnny Hendricks, and god damn does he need a win. But I can never root against my guy Neil. And we'll get into it. So
cool, man.
That's a funny story, though.
You want a couple more?
Sure.
Well, Anthony Johnson just had an interview where he said he would literally wait forever for Daniel Cormier to fight.
It's aggressive.
Yeah. Or they even said like a year. Would you even wait a year? He goes, I'll wait forever for that fight.
Well, I mean, I agree waiting out to fight for the title. Mm-hmm. Well, John is back when? July?
I don't remember.
I think John's back in July or April, May.
Actually, July sounds right. Like July 9th.
He's a year, right?
Yeah.
And it's retroactive. So, I don't know how long DC's going to be out. You know, I think it was a groin surgery.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we know how long he's out. You know, there's a chance if he doesn't heal correct or rehab doesn't come correct, Anthony Johnson's be in trouble because there's a chance they pair him up for an interim title with John Jones.
If he refuses, though, does that mean anything at all? Like he said in this interview, he's like, I'm waiting. I earned that title shot.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. So
the UFC doesn't work that way. Mm-hmm. The UFC has guaranteed people title shots, i.e. Misha Tate, TJ Dillashaw. You name the list. The list goes on and on. And then it doesn't happen. Things change. Different matchups come about. That word means nothing. Unless you sign that contract, means nothing. Same as entertainment, you know. You shoot a pilot, and unless that thing gets picked up, and everyone's going to tell you it's the greatest thing, and there's a good chance to get picked up, until you're on set, until you sign that contract, it's not real. They're going to tell you everything you want to hear, but it's not real. In his case, he's been around the UFC way too long where, you know, if DC's not ready and they offer you John Jones, you're going to have to take that fight. Chance you win that fight are not good. So that means you're going to be third best. I agree with him. You know, his best shot to become world champion is to fight DC. We saw him clip DC in that first and set him on his ass. And then he got worked from there. But at least he landed. With John, that's a fun fight because Anthony Johnson can knock anybody out. So much power. John hasn't fought in so long, so that might be the time to fight John too. Yeah. If he beats John Jones, he's Superman. You beat John Jones, something DC couldn't do. You beat John for an interim belt, and then you fight DC.
That's a very good point too. If he beats John Jones, I mean he is.
I'll tell you what, the John Jones who fought OSP fights a well-conditioned Anthony Johnson, he loses.
Wow. A
John Jones with ring rust, like we saw in that OSP fight, does not beat Anthony Johnson. He gets murked.
Wow, that's saying a lot.
So I don't think that's to wait forever. Don't wait a year because we forget about you. Man, Nunes is the champ. We don't even know she's fighting this weekend, let alone Anthony Johnson. Yeah. So I mean, if you get offered that John Jones fight, which I bet DC's back before that. I'm just saying, worst case scenario, you get offered that John Jones fight, but. I'm with him. Unless it's John Jones, don't fight anyone. You should be fighting for the title. Unless it's John Jones or DC, you're not fighting anyway. There's no Gus Finn. There's none of that. Yeah. There's no one else. There's no Bader. There's none of that. It's John Jones or DC or bust. Mm-hmm. What else you got, brother?
So this is a totally different one. You know, McGregor has been posting recently about Mayweather.
Yeah, he has funny stuff, right? Like I'm going to break his jaw or some shit.
And he superimposed himself in a picture with him with boxing gloves on too.
I'm going to break his face.
Yeah.
He's usually better shit talking than that, but I'll take it.
But the crazy thing about this is usually I think Dana White would not, talk about it too much, or he would underplay it. But this time he went on to TMZ And he was saying all these things that sounded like he's sort of sneakily promoting the fight.
Let's hear it.
His hands were like peanut butter. We asked him to wrap him a million times so he doesn't break his hands. Floyd better hope you don't run into Conor on the street. Let me tell you what, Conor, not only will Conor kick his ass, he'll kick the shit out of every one of his security guards, too. So, 100%. 100%. But I would love to be there when Floyd tries to slap Conor McGregor.
That's what he said. He said on his...
I promise you, Floyd, you will never try to walk up and slap Conor McGregor. You know it, too.
I agree with Dana on this.
Yeah,
100%.
True, yeah.
Conor would murk Floyd on the street. Now, as far as goons behind him, the 3,000-pound gorillas behind him,
Impossible.
That's going to be a tough task. But he's right. Floyd's not going to do shit. I think, and I like this, I think it's Dana just sticking up for his guy.
Oh, okay.
You know, like, and it hypes the fight for sure. Again, I could see it happening. I really do. I could see it happening. I've told you guys this, and I went on FS1, Jay and Dan, and I've done on this show, I've done on Rogan. I think that's the next fight for Conor. I really do.
The next fight.
I think it's the only fight. I think, unless there's some huge payday to fight Nate Diaz at 155 or a GSP, like crazy super fight for Conor, what's in it to fight a guy like Khabib? What's in it to fight a guy like Tony Ferguson? What is it to fight a guy with Jose Aldo come up to 55? If you're Conor McGregor and you're the face of the company, you're making all this money, you know how much money he would make if he beat Floyd Mayweather? Or not beat, just fought Floyd
him, yeah.
in boxing. You get boxing, UFC, they're both cross-pollinating promotionally. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It'd be the biggest pay-per-view of all time.
Yeah,
it'd beat Pacquiao, all that stuff. So I like it. And I don't see why Dana wouldn't do it, especially now because we see him being a little lenient with Ronda and this promotional stuff. He has $400 million. He's not as much of an asshole anymore. He's like kind of open with guys and working with people. Yeah. Conor wants to do this. It would, think about being on Dana's, if he cares, who knows, but having that on his resume, promote the biggest fight in history.
Very, very true.
Dana's an ego guy. To have that on your resume and be the guy who put that deal together, do you know how many hoops you're going to have to jump through? If you don't even put it together, it's Dana. He's great with that stuff. So, again, I think this is him, A, hyping the fight, B, sticking up for his guy, and C, I agree with him. Conor would slap the piss out of Floyd Mayweather. Floyd's not going to do shit. He would if there's those huge guys around him, but other than that.
I could still see him being cool if they actually met in person, right?
Yeah, 100%.
They just be giving each other props.
Yeah. Or he'd just do it to hype the fight and be a dick to him. What else you got, Billy?
I mean, the rest are just kind of cool, but not that breaking. So
all good. Should we do some of the breakdown? Should we get into the breakdown?
Cool with me.
Let's do it. I got to pee hard, though. Let's take a piss break.
Yeah.
All righty. UFC 207. We usually don't do the prelims, but we got to start with Johnny Hendricks versus Neil the Gazelle Magny. Johnny Hendricks number 6 still. Wow, that's impressive. You have any picks from you, Chin?
I'm gonna pick Neil regardless.
You what?
I'm gonna pick Neil regardless.
After this story?
After the story, plus I kind of feel like Hendricks really isn't the same anymore.
No, I agree.
And I really like Neil Magny too.
Yeah, I think let me see Hendricks' record. Because you look at obviously he's lost all killers. So he has the Robbie Lawler split decision. That was up in the air. Then he beat Matt Brown. We all know how Matt Brown's been doing lately. Then he lost to Wonder Boy, which was a bad TKO. Really? And then he lost to Kelvin Gastelum, which he really got outclassed. The Wonder Boy Thompson fight, he kind of rushed in, got murked, right? And it's like, all right, well, that's Wonder Boy. We can kind of understand that it's Wonder Boy. Mm-hmm. The Kelvin Gastelum is when I went, something's wrong here. Because, he just got outworked, out-hustled, out-wrestled, out-boxed, everything. Best win of Kelvin's career as well. So, and that's UFC 200. doesn't get much bigger than that card. And he was talking about how he wasn't very dedicated. He had his restaurant, Big Rig Steakhouse and shit. He left his former camp. He just doesn't look like the guy. And, if you've listened to the show before, I talk about runs. And sometimes it's over. Sometimes it's over. And guys, there have been guys who they have a run, then they fall, on hard times, and then they have another little run. But for a guy in his prime, a guy who you want to see the best version of Johnny Hendricks, and now remember, Johnny has years of high-level wrestling as well, Oklahoma State. So you look at Johnny's run, you're looking from, go ahead and scroll down for me. Well, really, you don't need to scroll down for me. His run really was from 2007 to 2014, 7 years. The last time we saw vintage Johnny Hendricks, December 6, 2014, that my last fight, when he went to split decision against Robbie Lawler. And those Robbie Lawler fights and George St. Pierre, so you look at it, remember Carlos Condit fight, hell of a fight. George St. Pierre, decision split. Robbie Lawler, decision split. Those add up. Those take a career on your those take a toll on your career. So Johnny Hendricks had his time. Talk about a fucking run, man. Talk about a run. Yeah. One of my favorites. He's one of the nicest guys in the sport. Pioneer. Just a great individual. A guy you'd want your kid to be like when he grows up. The things he's done for the sport have been great. It's Neil Magny's time to go for a run. It's a game of momentum, and the momentum hasn't been on his side in over a year. So 2 years you could argue. In 2014, when he lost that split decision to Robbie Lawler, that's when he lost momentum. That was December 6th. So in 2 years, momentum hasn't been on his side. The run's over. He's still a veteran. He's still a tough guy to beat. Still world-class wrestling. Still has one hell of a overhand. And, you obviously got to respect him because the potential there, the potential's still there that he's still one of the best in the world. But as far as like the dog in him, I assume it's gone. It's the way it works. It's what we sign up for. Happens to everybody. It's Neil Magny's time. Neil needs to use his reach. Neil needs to really focus on his cardio, get into the later rounds, dragging Johnny into, the second and third round. And, I don't see Neil finish him. If he does finish him, maybe a choke. Maybe if Johnny Hendricks just kind of really didn't cover his bases in camp and gives up something, shooting for a double leg or a single leg. Other than that, this is a decision all day, majority decision, Neil Magny. Although Neil got starched in his last fight against Lorenz Larkin. And, he said he just overlooked him. Lorenz is a tough customer as far as like...
So fun to watch, too.
Yeah, and he's a guy who's not highly touted as far as the media goes, but I've trained with a guy. He's a fucking nightmare. He's good at everything, tough to take down, unorthodox, explosive. Not an easy fight. And, I'll chalk it up to Neil that, that was kind of a fight that he just overlooked. But you look at Neil's wins and, Lorenz Larkin, nothing to hang your head on. Okay, so you got murked in that fight. Let's get back on the saddle. Hector Lombard, huge win. Now, that's Hector Lombard. Kelvin Gastelum. It's Kelvin, son. And that's also main event. He went 5 rounds, so we know Neil has cardio. Remember, that was a back and forth fight, man. Kelvin almost pulled that bitch out. It's in Mexico. Eric Silva, not an easy fight, but we see really what Neil's made of. And you want to talk about a fighter, guys. Been down, comes back, winning rounds, back and forth, split decisions. He hasn't had an easy go, but I like Neil in this fight by decision.
Nice. He dropped Hyun Yu Lim's another Korean, a big Korean guy, and he knocks everyone out. When he dropped him, I was like, holy crap.
I know, man.
And then he gets Lombard. Pretty crazy.
Yeah, TKO and Lombard's nuts.
What would you like next?
Smoka Borg. Yeah, we'll go over this one real quick. Smoka, high hopes for Smoka. Hawaiian Cat. Lost his last fight, obviously, guillotine choke. But before that, he's so highly touted, kind of a guy who I think everyone had on his radar as the next big thing, especially out of Hawaii. And it's not to say that he can't still be. He's still a guy who I think is going to do great things in the UFC. But just like anyone, unless you're the champ, there's holes in his game. But one thing about this guy, he's game, and he does like to go to the ground. But when you go to the ground with a guy like Ray Borg, I don't think he's going to win that one. I think Ray's going to be in trouble early on, and eventually it's going to go to the ground, and Ray's going to end up submitting him.
Wow.
Yeah. And I don't know the odds on that. I don't really look at odds, but we'll see. But I think Ray gets a late second round, late third round submission.
Holy moly.
Yeah. You got smoke on that one?
I kind of do, because I really do like Smoke.
Me too.
The last one seemed like a fluke to me. I don't know.
That's fair to say.
So that's why I would take Smoke, but who knows?
No, I mean, there's no argument there. If Smoker won that, I would not be surprised. He's fun to watch, man.
Yeah.
The Hawaii's killing it right now in the game.
Hell yeah.
They're really killing it. Next.
My boy, Dong Hyun Kim versus Eric Saffiedine.
Dong Hyun Kim. He's been out for a while. Saffiedine just hasn't looked the same, man, lately. He just hasn't he really hasn't been himself. I mean, he beat Jake Ellenberg in decision. Roy McDonald, he just did not show up. Saffiedine's issue is he's so goddamn technical. He's not a knockout artist. He's gonna pick you apart very calculated. He's not fun to watch. And I love Saffiedine. We had the same striking coach, the nicest guy ever. Shout out to Daniel Warren, who's been a striking coach forever. But and Saffiedine's tough to take down. Great takedown defense. Amazing Muay Thai kickboxing. But for a stand up fighter, he's one of the most boringest guys to watch. And I hate saying that because I love the guy, but he's just not when he's on a fight card, it does nothing for me. And I'm a guy who likes technique. I'm also a guy who likes, the way Brunson and Whitaker fought, where awesome. Brunson was just like, blah, running fast, face first towards him. That's fun to watch too. But, a guy who can appreciate technique, Saffiedine's like watching paint dry. It's just not fun. So, oh man, I think Stun Gun gets it done. And you look at Stun Gun, he's been out for over a year and a month, damn near, right? His last fight was what? Waters?
Over a year. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I like Stun Gun here by decision. You know what? Decision, TKO. Saffiedine really doesn't take risks, so the chance of you knocking him out are not good.
Yeah,
you're gonna have to land shots, and then he adapts, and and his footwork gets him out of trouble. So, yeah, I'll go Stun Gun.
Do you remember how Stun Gun used to fight? And how he started going crazy on striking now? But he used to just grind and win all the time.
Yes.
And now he's throwing out spinning everything.
Yes. Spinning back, John Hathaway, Eric Silva, Woodley murked him.
Yeah.
Woodley murked him. All right, what else you got?
All righty. Dillashaw, Lineker.
So the way I look at Dillashaw, Lineker, and Cruz Garbrandt. What I'm going to say for Cruz Garbrandt is the same thing I'm going to say for TJ Lineker. It's the same fight, same game plan. If anyone can mimic Dominic Cruz, it's TJ Dillashaw. They're the most similar as far as movement, even though they are a little different. But they're guys who use great footwork, angles, and volume punching, opposed to planting their feet and going for a knockout every time. So Lineker and Cody Garbrandt are the same. I don't want to say they're the same guy, because I think Cody does things better than Lineker. Yeah. I think Cody has better technique. Power-wise, I can pick your poison. Yeah. They both have crazy power. I think Cody has youth on his side. He hasn't taken as much punishment. He has more confidence than Lineker. but they're the same Terminator, go forward at any cost, no kicking, no takedowns. They're going to use every ounce in their body to knock you out from the first round to the fifth round. That usually doesn't work against a guy like Garbrandt-Cruz. And Garbrandt-Cruz has faced guys that do that, and it doesn't work out for him. He's obviously fought guys from Team Alpha Male before. I think he's 6-1 or 5-1 against their entire team. So they obviously can't figure out the Garbrandt-Cruz riddle. I don't think anyone can. Everyone knows I'm a huge Cody Garbrandt fanboy. He's my favorite fighter to watch. He's a good dude. I always support him. I want to see him win. He's undefeated. So it hurts me to say this. Uh-oh. My heart says Cody Garbrandt. My brain goes, don't be ridiculous. He's never fought a guy like Garbrandt-Cruz.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, right? I think the argument here, not even the argument, when you analyze this fight, can Cody Garbrandt land a knockout punch in 25 minutes? Mizugaki's a far fucking cry from Garbrandt-Cruz. They both murked him.
Yeah.
He's never been the same. Thomas Almeida, good fight, good win, knocked him out, in under 3 minutes. That's great. Other than that, he's never faced a guy even remotely close, and not many people have, to a guy like Garbrandt-Cruz. Yeah. It's a tough puzzle to figure out. I think it's just a matter of time before Cody Garbrandt's the champion of the UFC. I don't think this is his time. And it hurts me to say it, but I just think Garbrandt-Cruz is just too much for him too soon. It's too much too soon. I would have liked him to get a different matchup. The only thing I like about it is it brings more eyeballs to Cody, so his brand and name gets bigger. He will not get knocked out. He will not get finished. I think he's going to win a lot of fans, win or lose this fight. So I like the fight for him. I wish they would give him someone else just to kind of build him up and maybe a different matchup style. But like I said, my heart wants Cody, but, Garbrandt-Cruz is the smartest fighter in the game, possibly the smartest fighter to ever compete inside the octagon. So, again, when you're fighting a static fighter who's trying to knock your head off with every shot, who's flat-footed, it's very easy to game plan for it. It's the easiest game plan you can create, especially when you have movement like Dominic or TJ. So, I think Dom gets it done by decision. He won't finish Cody. Cody still comes out a winner in this fight with the fans, and more people know of him. And then, I see him fighting Lineker next. These two fights, it's a little 135 tournament. Winner versus winner, loser versus loser. So there's a chance to be champion, there's a chance to be third place. And that's the way this tournament's going to work out. And Lineker versus Cody Garbrandt's one hell of a fucking fight. Same thing with TJ. The scary thing about TJ, unlike Dominic, TJ will get inside and look to exchange. Well, with Lineker, these are the only guys at 135 where you can't play that game. You can't be in a phone booth and play Rock'em Sock'em Robots with these guys. At 135, anyone else, have fun. You might get hit in the face. Okay, shit, won't do that again. I'll learn from her, shoot for a takedown. If Garbrandt and Lineker land anything, your night is over. Dominic knows that. We really don't see Dominic get hit ever, especially with power shots. Name the last time he got hit. And you hear Dominic in interviews, he goes, it's the first time I've ever been actually 100% going into a fight. My knees, my foot's all good. I'm like, shit. So for Cody, that's trouble. And for TJ, he has that dog in him that where when the going gets rough, he will kind of look to just kind of brawl. You can't do that with a guy like this. And he has one of the best coaches in the game with Dwayne, and I'm sure they're aware of this. Lineker's only chance to win is if TJ allows him to win. It's his fight to lose. It's Dominic's fight to lose. It's TJ's fight to lose. Meaning they both have the same game plan. If they veer off the path of that game plan with footwork, volume punches, look to win in a decision, if they veer off even the slightest, they will both get knocked out. But I don't see it happen. Both are too smart. Then you get a rematch of, a rematch of TJ versus Dominic. And then you get Lineker versus Cody, which I prefer those fights over the fights that are going on Friday night.
Did you see how the mental warfare was with Dominic Cruz and Cody Garbrandt in the beginning to where it is now?
Yeah, and Dom's a seasoned vet, and and you can see, and I think it's going to actually be trouble for Cody as a young guy who's undefeated. You know, he's like a pit bull who hasn't been neutered. You know, he's very emotional, and anything Dominic says, he's taken to heart. And you know, you can see he's so fucking frustrated and mad, and he's not using his words. He's doing the Donald Trump thing where he's shouting over Dominic, even though Dominic say, "Dude, I've beat everyone in your camp. I lost once. I think we've had 24 rounds, and I've only lost 5. What are you talking about?" And then Cody just go, "Oh, fuck you. I better not see you in the back." It's like, all right, man. Well, and he'll interrupt them and not let him speak. And, you know, the only good thing is you can't write that. You can't script it. I like the realness of it. But, you know, Cody has, when it comes to media and promoting a fight, he has, ways to go. Again, this is all new to him, and it's going to be great learning for him. And I think his brand gets bigger. And there's a chance, and there's a goddamn good chance, you look at the odds in this fight, that Cody Garbrandt does win. That would not be surprising. I mean, the guy who hits that hard, you're talking about the young Chuck Liddell of 135, guy who, if in 25 minutes, if he can land one of those huge right hooks or overhand, it's night for Dominic Cruz. So, it's not like he's just going in this to lose. He has a secret weapon that Dominic doesn't have. Dominic's not going to knock him out. It's not going to happen. But it's almost the exact same fight. Isn't that weird? Really? You're going to get 10 rounds of the exact same fight.
And you would actually rather watch the other opponents fight each other for this fight.
Because Lineker, Garbrandt, you could...
That sounds so good.
You could say that's a 20-round fight. That bitch is lasting 1 round.
Such a fun fight.
Such a great fight. Barn burner.
Who do you... Oh, you don't want to pick now, would you?
I would take Cody in that fight. He's
really?
More technical. In the pocket, when they're exchanging, he has better defense than Lineker. Lineker's a wild man with a great chin.
He seems like he's not even human.
I know.
Yeah.
But with Cody, again, that doesn't fly.
Yeah.
But we haven't seen Cody get drilled in the face either.
He did lose to knockout like early in his career, right?
No, he's undefeated.
I mean, outside of the promotion. I think he got like a concussion, knocked out.
In training camp.
No, there's like a video of him in
in boxing?
Either boxing.
Probably boxing.
Yeah, one of those things. I forgot
really?
what it was, but yeah, he got
flatlined,
and then Dominic actually posted that video somewhere. Yeah,
because remember he had I think he was 20-0 or something in boxing before this. So,
I'm thinking it's MMA, but I could be completely wrong.
I don't think so. I mean, maybe amateurs or I'm assuming it's boxing though. I'm assuming, but it's a great freaking matchup. What else you got, man?
All right. Well,
just go to the main event because, like I said, I basically broke down 2 in the same because the same goddamn fight.
Yeah.
Main event. What you calling this, Jen?
This is the hardest one for me.
What the fuck is Ronda wearing in that picture? Keep going though.
I'd like to hear what you have because I have zero idea.
Is that a Power Ranger? God damn it! Why did they put her in blue like that? Come on, marketing. Again, you can listen to any analyst break down this fight. Mm-hmm. No one knows what kind of frame of mind Ronda's in. That's the biggest X factor of all time in this fight. Where's Ronda mentally? Does she want to do this? Is she training to win this fight? Or is she doing this because she has to and the conflict of interests are forcing her to take this fight and she wants to go out a world champion? We don't know. We have no idea. We know that the story can't end with Ronda getting kicked in the face and never fighting again. Because then you're the worst. You're simply the worst of all time if you do that. If you lost one fight and never came back, your legacy's finished. You can't. You have to take this fight. There's a big difference between have to and wanting to. A girl like Amanda Nunes, doesn't care about being on Maxim's 100 hottest girls. She's not flying to islands to do Sports Illustrated swimsuit model stuff. She's worried about punching a hole through Ronda's face. So it's almost a waste of time to break down this fight. So let's say it's vintage Ronda. She's ready. She wanted this fight. which is hard to I can't convince you guys of that. I just can't. All signs do not point to that. But let's say she is ready to go. I think she submits Amanda in the first round. I think she gets nicked a little bit with those huge bombs, gets to the cage, tosses her, gets her down, and in transition submits her with an armbar in the first round. That's if Ronda is in the right frame of mind, wants to be there, and doesn't feel the pressure of the world and wants to be in there. That's such an understatement. It's not even funny. I have no idea if that's going to happen. Let's say Ronda's not ready to go, and let's say she feels like everyone's against her. She doesn't want to be in there. All she wants to do is make these movies and ride off to the sunset and be a do-nothing bitch. Let's say that's what she wants to do. Amanda Nunes knocks her out in the first round, and early. Because the thing about Amanda Nunes is, there's obviously holes in her game. If you go through, you look at the Kat Zingano fight where she was winning early and then ended up losing to, kind of gassing out, and because she was so excited and she thought she was going to finish Kat and end up gassing out. She has some losses on her record where, Ronda's pretty flawless. It's very, very tough to say Ronda has any holes besides when she fights a world caliber striker in Holly Holm. Mm-hmm. So, and you can say, well, Amanda Nunes beat Miesha Tate. She beat a Miesha Tate who had one foot out the door.
Yeah.
When Miesha Tate goes out, that last fight, I kind of knew that this wasn't for me. I just want to be in there. That doesn't just spring on you. She had an idea at UFC 200 what was going on, and she just got murked in that fight. So she beat Shayna Baszler, who's, I don't even think she's still in the UFC, so that does nothing. Sarah McMahon, that's a big win. Sarah McMahon's as tough as they get. Submitted her in the first round. And then Shevchenko, who's a fucking world-class striker, she looked great in that fight. That went to decision. And then she beat up Miesha Tate with one foot in the door. Yeah, and then she also beat that Jermaine de Randamie, or whatever the fuck her name is, by TKO in the first round.
I didn't even know she did it with elbows.
Yes. So, I mean, like anyone, there's holes in her game, but if Ronda doesn't come correct, she's the hardest hitter by far in the division. She's the hardest hitter out of any female fighter not named Cyborg. So it's a dangerous fight for Ronda. I don't know what to tell you guys. I wish I could guarantee you something, or I wish I had some insight for you. I don't. If it's vintage Ronda, this isn't a competition. She smokes her. If it's Ronda who wants to do movies and not do this, she's gonna get beat up, and it's gonna be sad. Either way, I think this is Ronda's last fight. I'll say that.
And you think for either opponent, it'll happen in the first round? So the first round is the number one.
I do. I think Ronda's had 411 days off. Ring rust is real, especially at that level, especially at that world championship magnitude level of 5 rounds, media, all eyeballs on you. You're carrying the card. We don't know what she's been doing. There's this mystery on it. There's so much pressure. And if you're not used to that pressure, it's the Super Bowl every time. Imagine the Denver Broncos not playing all year and they're just playing the Super Bowl. They're going to be missing passes. There's going to be jitters. There's going to be audibles that they have to figure out. There's going to be shit they didn't even think of. You can't mimic a world championship fight. There's nothing you can do. I don't think she has the camp to make adjustments where she can sit on the outside and pick her spots with a striker like Amanda Nunes. I think she has to do what got her to the dance, which is balls to the wall, pedal to the metal, close the distance, get a clinch, throw her on her head, in transition, submit her. If she goes, I don't like getting knocked out, what I'm going to do is stay on the outside and jab and pick my spot, she's going to get murked. She doesn't have the trainer for that. B, she has been trained long enough to make those adjustments. But it's not in her nature. Can you imagine telling Anthony Rumble Johnson, we need you to be a counter striker now? You know what, Anthony, it's no different. Same shit. Hey, Anthony, we know you're a knockout artist. You have all this power. You've been murking everybody. We need you to just grapple from now on. Can you do Damian Maia? That's like asking Ronda to do Tarek Safadine. And that's what she would need to do in order to win this fight against that level of striker. She'd have to be a Safadine type of striker that takes years and years to learn, and the right staff and the right adjustments, and she doesn't have that. She doesn't have the time. She's been doing movies. She doesn't have the coaching staff or structure to get that done. So you do what got you to dance. Pedal to the metal, close the distance, get an underhook, toss that girl on the floor, look for submission. If that doesn't work, I don't know what to tell you. If that doesn't work, it's probably time to retire.
The Holly Holm thing, though, she kind of tried to go after her too, right? So you have to like find that balance between rushing the person, but not going too crazy on rushing.
No, because there's only, Holly Holm. You see in the movie Troy, the Achilles heel. Troy's killing everybody, and the one time he gets struck in the fucking heel, the Achilles heel with the arrow, fucks him up, kills him.
I didn't watch it, but
that's like Ronda. Like she beats everybody not named Holly Holm.
Oh, so
everybody. That's her Achilles heel. She beats everyone in the world not named Holly Holm. Holly could be on a 6-fight losing streak. She fights Ronda loses. It wasn't a fluke. She's just outclassed. Holly Holm was built to beat a girl like Ronda. She was put on this earth. She was born into fighting to beat a girl like Ronda. They fight 10 times. Holly probably wins 8. Just has the style to beat her. Just does. It's just the way it works. So,
another quick question.
Yeah.
Do you think that a Nunes is physically as strong or stronger than Ronda, or even less strong? Because I can't tell who looks like they would be stronger if they did grapple. Although Ronda's obviously way more skilled in that world.
That's a good question. I've never seen Amanda train. I know she trains with a lot of dudes.
She looks mean,
strong. Yeah. And I think, her power comes from her strength too. I'll say this, and you can relate to this. Ronda has Han on her side like a motherfucker. To say she has Han would be an understatement. That'd be an understatement.
Wow.
The darkness in her gets her through a lot of things. And that's where you see this act of me against the world come out. Like there has to be so much hate and anger in her that she unleashes it on her opponents. Mm-hmm. Like remember when she beat Misha Tate, wouldn't shake her hand?
Yeah, that was crazy.
Crazy. It's that Han, and you guys know her story. I don't want to get into it. I'm not going to say anything personal about her, but you guys know her story, why it's there.
But it helps her in certain situations a lot, right? Having that anger.
In fighting. In life, no. It's a detriment. In life, it hurts a lot of people. In fighting, it's what makes her world go around. That Han is fucking powerful for her. Yeah, I wish I could give you guys something, but like I said, this is such an X factor. It's not even funny. So like I said, if it's the Ronda we know and she's game and she wants to be in there, she wins this fight pretty easily. If she's not, and that ring rust is real for her, and she's tentative and she thinks she can, and someone's in her ear, and these new Hollywood agents that she has who don't know the game, who had her just doing Ellen. If she's surrounded by yes men, like, just keep doing what you're doing. You got this. You can do that movie and still beat this girl. You're in for a rude awakening. Not only for a rude awakening, I'm trying to be careful with my words, man. I'm not trying to make any fucking headlines I don't want to make. Her interview on Ellen when she went, suicidal thoughts.
Yeah.
Lose this fight.
Oh, man.
But I don't think she will. I think she wins this one and rides off into the sunset.
Judging by her, the things that are happening right now and not doing media and stuff like that, and even with that first time they were on stage, she ran off stage upset.
And they said she had to be consoled in the back.
So does it seem as though mentally she's at that point where she can use that Han in her favor, or is she too kind of just off of those things that you see in the media? Like the way she's handling everything right this minute.
It's scary, man.
So it doesn't seem like it's really a positive thing.
Mm-mm.
Right?
Mm-mm. Yeah. And I think Amanda Nunes came out and was like, she's acting weird, and it's a weird vibe around her. And as a fighter, you can't have Hollywood people around you. The fight game it's a different world. The fight game is a ruthless bitch, man. And you got to face the music, and you can't do just Ellen, who doesn't know shit about the sport. You can't, and talk to her about life and stuff like that. Like the reason you're so big are these people, whether you love them or hate them, the MMA fighting and the Luke Thomases and the Brett Amiak, or whatever the fuck his name, Okamoto, who I love, and the Ira Hawani's. And these are the guys who gave you all this praise, and the Joe Rogans who said you're the Mike Tyson of the sport. And I don't know where she's at, man, but and maybe she's spinning this web that gets her to that spot where she needs to just wreck house. And I do believe she's going to, if she does end up winning, she's going to get on the mic and just spew some dark shit.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I don't know. Depends what you're into. We'll see. We'll see. You almost want to see her win to see that darkness.
I'm so excited for this fight now, way more than I was before.
Are you?
Yeah.
I won't see it live. I'll be in Napa Valley.
People are
with my
blow you
girl.
up.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll get the results, but I'll watch it on Saturday or Sunday. So it's a fun fight card. I stick to it. I think the ratings are going to hurt on this one, and not hurt like crazy low, like a Demetrius Johnson fight or something like that. It's going to hurt in the grand scheme of things when Dana says she's the biggest star in the world ratings type of thing. It's going to do well, but it's not going to do amazing.
It could have done a lot better.
Could have done great. Could have been one of the big top 5 of all time. It'll be maybe in the top 10, top 12, but won't be in the top 5. Mark my words.
Marked.
I could be way off into number 1 of all time, but
anything's possible. But I mean, judging by the way everything's going, it doesn't seem like it.
We'll see, man. Let's do some fan questions. Get the fuck out of here.
I don't know how to pronounce his name, but Elvidikorkreet. What do you see happening to the 145 and 155 divisions with all the interim belts and contenders floating in the air?
Jose Aldo at 155 is the champ. He's fighting Max Holloway. That's next. Jose Aldo's talking about winning that fight, going to 55 to fight Conor. Hey, man, I don't see him as the favorite to beat Max Holloway. He has his hands full in that fight. And we talk about runs. Right now is Max's time to do a goddamn run if anyone's ever had one. So 45 Max versus Jose. Jose needs to focus on that. Forget about anything else. That's what's going on in that division. At 55, 55's tough because put $20 in the jar for tough. I haven't said blah, 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 though, have I? Have I said blah, blah, blah?
I didn't hear it.
Yes.
I didn't hear it.
Getting better.
I'm sure we rewind. We could probably hear it.
God damn it. Someone will pick it out. Anyways. 55 is tricky because, Conor got a license in California for boxing. Everyone was talking about Floyd Mayweather. Tony Ferguson and Khabib aren't huge draws. So I think you have to do Khabib versus Nate, Khabib versus Tony. Conor's out of that mix. Mm-hmm. He's not in that mix. So you have really Khabib Tony, Khabib Nate. That's your only options there. I see that being the only 3 fights. And Conor's going to do his thing, take some time off, and then either fight Nate or Floyd Mayweather next. That's what's going on at 55. I mean, look at the rest of the division. Eddie Alvarez just lost. He's out. Dos Anjos, kind of out. Barboza, Nate Diaz, Michael Johnson, so there you go.
There you go. Okay. Duncan Telford. Should Dom ride off into the sunset with his bag of alpha male scalps if he wins? What is left to prove? He's a stud commentator, and there aren't many fights left at that weight to do much for me. Retiring champion would be a great way to cement his legacy.
I agree, but I think those years off where he had his knee injury and got better and had knee injury and he really kind of got to think about retirement and not being able to compete and not being a prize fighter. I think that gave him a different perspective. Mm-hmm. So I don't see him retiring after this fight. I see him doing super fights after this. Scroll up to the division for me, Chin. Scroll down. There you go. Badoosh. I mean, there's nothing for him at bantamweight. you got TJ Lineker, Asuncao, Rivera's the dark horse in that, by the way. Cody Garbrandt, who's fighting, Brian Caraway, who's just been killing the game. Sterling McDonald. There's nothing for him. So Dominic needs to do this, and then it makes so much sense. Someone needs to talk to both these guys. Demetrius Johnson needs to come up and fight Dominic Cruz. There's your super fight.
Yep.
That's it. And then he can ride off in the sunset. But there's only super fights left for him. That's it. There's nothing else.
Super fight rematch.
Yes.
That'd be awesome.
Yes, that's it. What else, brother?
All right. Taylor X Rose. Did NSAC do the right thing pulling Kane from the card? I understand his health issues, but I can't help but think that's a power move by the new brass.
No, it has nothing to do with them. And we covered it earlier.
Yeah.
They're just covering their ass for insurance purposes. If he goes in there and blows his back out and he's paralyzed, he could sue the shit out of the UFC and the Nevada commission. So there's no hidden agendas here. It's on Kane. He's responsible for this. Doing an interview and announcing these injuries was pretty stupid on his part, and now he's paying the price for it. Nothing more, nothing less.
How would that even be a power move?
Because he's part of the association, so they yank him from the card. However, the UFC is about money, and that fight was a money fight on this card, and the association, they're not a threat to him right now, so I don't see them pulling that power move.
Gotcha, very true. All right, keeping up with Phil. Brandon, which current champions will still be holding belts at the end of 2017?
Ooh, let's go through which ones will still be holding the belt. Well, let's start with flyweight. Demetrius Johnson will hold that belt till he's 50. Dominic Cruz will win, and there's only super fights for him left. Jose Aldo will not be holding the belt. Conor McGregor, I don't think he will lose the belt. He'll either give it up or fight Floyd Mayweather. Woodley has his hands full with Wonder Boy, Damian Maia, Donald Cerrone, and GSP or Nick Diaz or Nate Diaz. So I'd say the guys who are, we can keep going. I'd say Woodley has the biggest challenge to hold on to the belt by far. You move down to middleweight, Bisping, Romero, Rockhold, Jacare, and Mousasi, Whitaker. Bisping's a lot of people's fighter of the year. I would argue if Amanda Nunes beats Rousey, she's the fighter of the year if you think about it. Or even Stipe is a good argument. Michael Bisping, Hall of Famer, love the guy. Can't say enough nice things about him. Him pulling off that KO of Rockhold is amazing. But Amanda Nunes beating Rousey, beating Miesha Tate, becoming champion, that's a hell of a year. So I don't think we can mark fighter of the year yet. And there's argument for Stipe in that as well. So Bisping and Woodley have the biggest issue as far as keeping the belt. DC with his injury, he has Johnson to worry about, and then also if John Jones comes back, that's another issue. Stipe, but besides Kane, I don't see a lot of threat for him in the least bit. There's no new blood. There's really nothing going on in the division. The only guy who really sparks my interest as far as new blood is that Francis Ngannou. Ngannou, or whatever the hell his name is. He's really the only guy you can look in the top 15 and be like, ooh, he'd be cool. I mean, you look at from 10 to 15, you're like, Jesus Christ. There's no big guys in the world. And obviously, Joanna is going to hold her belt for fucking ever. And then Amanda Nunes. So, yeah, there you go. Broke all that down. Kind of. Best I could, okay?
Good stuff.
There you go.
All right, M. Michelson. Who does the UFC market next as their big star? With Conor taking a break and Ronda focusing on movies, who will they try to focus on making their next superstar?
Well, we saw them attempt it with Paige Van Zandt, and she has all the possibility, all the potential, but she just doesn't have the skills to back it up right now. But she's your best shot, even though she just lost. Scroll down for me. Let me just see the rest of that. Scroll up. Sorry. Amanda Nunes, with her story, would be great if she were to win. Whew. Yeah, man. It's a tough sell. I'm looking at everyone. Keep going for me. Max Holloway. Good God, going through them. It is a tough go.
Right.
Max Holloway could be a fun story. He's trying to talk shit. The Where's Aldo, not great, kind of amateur, but still a huge fan. If Cody Garbrandt has the look, he just needs to get better at the social media and the whole speaking stuff. But there's some potentials up there. But again, it's tough. You know, the UFC always says we can make anyone star we want. Oh, really? Not true. Not true if you look at who's next. All right, what else you got?
How many more would you like?
How many more we got?
I think we got 3 more.
Okay.
I'll start with this one. Dopiets Mo4. What are your chances?
For sure, get an easier Twitter handle.
All of the ones I read, I swear to God, it's like you're doing this. You guys are doing this to me on purpose. Anyways, what are your chances of you making your own intro to the Big Brown Breakdown like you guys do, or like you guys have for the regular podcast?
Oh, for the Finding the Kid? Yeah. That's what we're trying to do, right, Chin?
I think so.
We're trying to do that.
We're going to cook something up this week.
Yeah, that's our plan, to get an intro. You know, and I just want to get going on these, and then that stuff we're working on, and the logo, I have some amazing artists working on it as well for a new logo, intro song. So don't worry, it'll come together. Early 2017, all that stuff will be figured out, but I just want to get you guys the content and then go from there.
Cool. And I guess just one more.
Bring it.
I don't see the name on this, but it says, what's the chances of doing a live big breakdown?
A live Big Brown Breakdown.
Big Brown Breakdown.
Yeah, we're down. It's funny because someone just brought it up to me if I would do live Big Brown Breakdowns for the big UFCs. I'd have to write it out, figure out how it'd go. It'd go very similar to the show now. I think I could do something cool, entertaining. I think I could come out, do, my stand up to kick start. Then, yeah, do like this is how I'd envision it. And, I got to figure things out and go through it. But I would start off doing like 20, 30 minutes of stand up. Then I'd have Chin and my brother there, and we'd go through current, events in MMA. I'd talk about them like we do on the show, and then I'd go into the breakdown of the fights, and I'd have a guest with me, maybe it's, who knows, or maybe I don't have a guest, but we'll see. And I break down the fights there in front of a live crowd, and then I do fan questions. It could be pretty dope. That's my plan. You guys let me know what you think about that, if you'd come out for that. Obviously, the first one would be in Los Angeles, maybe at the Ice House or Irvine or somewhere in LA, but I'd be down for that. I'd love to do that. I'll start putting it together, and if there's demand there, it could be a lot of fun. So, boom, that's it for fan questions, huh?
That's it.
All right, you filthy animals. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the holidays. Enjoy this fight. It is on a Friday night, UFC 207, not Saturday night. Again, don't bet on my picks. I usually have biased opinions. I try to give you the best insight that I can from what I know. Hopefully it helps some of you guys. Hopefully it's entertaining. The ratings and the downloads and the feedback we get from these are amazing. It's unbelievable, actually. So I wasn't planning to do one of these every week, but the demand's there. So we're going to keep on keeping on. Eventually I will do a live breakdown comedy show as well. That could be fun. So I can't thank you guys enough. Comments, concerns, you can DM me. You can put it in the comments on the Big Brown Breakdown post. Please don't do it on the Fight and the Kid, because it's obviously 2 different shows. Brian is on vacation. That's why he missed the fight breakdown with Rogan. He is not dead. He did not die of old age, or he has not gone crazy and just given up on anything. He's just on vacation, which means I am on vacation starting right now. I will be in Napa Valley, and a little getaway be good for me, and we will reset and we will come back next week, but this should keep you zombies satisfied for now. So I love you guys. Thanks for support. Share it, blast around, tell your friend to tell their friend, who tells their girlfriend, who tells their friends, who tells their mailman, who tells his workers, who tells his friends. And that's how these things work, so we can keep doing more. So thank you guys for listening. I love you. Enjoy the fights. I'm done.